beyond Russia, I've been traveling through Europe, like Western, Eastern, Central, all of this to start. In US, I've been to East Coast. Well, I'm living on the West Coast, obviously. I've been to Mexico. And every time I would go somewhere, what I would notice is people would ask me how the people in that other region are different, like culture, and the environment, all the other stuff. How are they different? Well, they are different in plenty ways, obviously, but those are not the keys. The key that unites all the humans is that they want to reach for the stars and that they're getting very busy and distracted. Here's a story I wanted to share with you. And that's pretty much how I came to this conclusion. My father is he's a sailor, and his giant ship, a cargo cruising ship, arrived to Long Beach port. So he was stationed there for about a week, and I came to visit him. And when we were on the bridge at the ship, the bridge is the area where the captain normally stands and controls the ship. So we were stationed at the dock. We were on the bridge, and my father pointed me to the thing that was right in front of that ship and asked, "What's that?" It looked like a rocket. It's been years ago. Literally a day or 2 days before this event happened, there was a breakthrough. A rocket. I believe the name is Falcon. The SpaceX rocket was launched, and it went down. It landed perfectly on the small barge. That's what was in front of us. And I was standing there on the bridge of that ship and looking at that rocket. And I just stopped for a second and I realized how interesting that is. Yeah, well, the SpaceX rocket flew, it landed perfectly. That's not what I was interested in. And here's where I'm going to do a small detour and go into the history. Specifically, Wernher von Braun. Wernher von Braun was pretty much the architect. He was the mind behind the Apollo program. All that he wanted to do is to launch a rocket into the space, and in order for people to actually get there. He was the one who managed to land the crew on the moon. Now, here's an interesting part. When Wernher von Braun started his work in the States, some of his previous history, was classified for some time. And here's why. The way he started going into the university and trying to launch a small, pretty much canoe. He was trying to launch it and just to see how it's going to fly. It was in Berlin University before World War I. He kept continuing. He kept trying to reach the space. His desire always was to reach for the space, was to land the moon, was to land the people somewhere in the space. World War II happened. Near the end of it, he and his team were like, well, we were trying to build a rocket to do space travel. We built V2 in Peenemünde. That's where his base was during the whole World War II. They ended up pretty much destroying a good amount of London with that rocket. And they were essentially like, it's not worth it. We don't want to kill anyone, and we don't want to surrender to the Soviets. And to Germany, the Third Reich, it's done. So they surrendered to Americans. His crew and Wernher were moved to the States in New Mexico. That's where he started his work. And that's a part of his history that was classified, his past. Eventually, he developed the Apollo program. Now, going back, what did the Soviets do? Well, they went to Peenemünde, the small city where the space travel was pretty much born, whereas the rocket, it was the first ever rocket, V2, to fly so high, to fly above the skies into the space. So they used the schematics for their flight program, and they stationed a small military crew over there. Here's where it's getting interesting. My grandfather was a pilot in military. He was stationed there. The reason why he decided not to become a space pilot, he was even given that opportunity because he's concerned about the safety. And there in Peenemünde, my father was born. My father was born right where the first ever rocket flew into the space. Now, years later, here we are standing on the bridge on a ship, look at SpaceX rocket, and it just hit me. All across the world, we are here reaching for the stars. We're looking at the rocket, and we're stationed in Long Beach, a city where Amelia Earhart did her first ever liftoff into the sky. And after that, she decided to become a pilot. It's pretty interesting how it's such a big world, but it is so tiny. It's from all the other side of the world, it's still all about aerospace and how much distracted we are. So the next time you think about something, don't get distracted by small nuances because you're not going to notice the big picture. Yes, it didn't really influence me that much, but it encouraged me. And this fall, I hope you're going to do the same. Be thankful for what you have, look at the big picture, and let it influence you. Dr. Jim?
Very nice. Thank you, Roman.